Tales from the Crypt has always been a series that thrives on the tension between morality and the macabre, and The Assassin is no exception. From the very opening sequence, the film captures the audience with a sense of foreboding, blending visual elegance with the chilling weight of ethical ambiguity. The film opens with a dimly lit alley, the rain reflecting the faint neon lights above, and immediately introduces us to the central character, a mysterious assassin whose very presence carries both sophistication and menace. The opening shot is deceptively simple, with the camera slowly tracking the silhouette of the figure as he navigates the wet streets. Yet it establishes a sense of anticipation, making the viewer aware that every movement has significance. Every shadow might conceal danger, and every character is potentially more than they seem. The first act meticulously constructs a world where morality is fluid and actions are often judged not by their legality, but by their consequences. One cannot help but notice the deliberate use of lighting to symbolize the duality of the main character. In several key scenes, his face is partially obscured by shadow, the chiaroscuro effect enhancing the internal conflict that will drive the narrative forward. This visual motif resonates throughout the film, reminding the audience that the assassin is not merely a killer, but a person grappling with choices that blur the line between right and wrong. The screenplay itself is carefully constructed to maintain suspense without relying on overt shock value. Each scene serves to peel back a layer of the protagonist's character, revealing motivations, regrets, and a complex moral code. The interaction between the assassin and his targets is particularly striking. There is a dance-like quality to these encounters, a tension that oscillates between cold calculation and human vulnerability. The director's choice to focus on subtle facial expressions and lingering close-ups allows the audience to read the story through emotion rather than exposition. One moment, for example, shows the assassin hesitating before executing a target, his fingers trembling slightly, his eyes betraying a flicker of doubt. This is not merely filler. It is a deliberate examination of the psychological cost of violence and the human capacity for empathy, even amidst a life defined by death. Furthermore, the film's pacing is expertly calibrated. Unlike many horror or suspense anthologies that rely on rapid-fire shocks, The Assassin allows its tension to build gradually, giving viewers time to immerse themselves in the ethical landscape of the story. Scenes linger just long enough to create unease, to make the mundane actions of daily life feel ominous when viewed through the lens of potential danger. The dialogue, sparse yet poignant, adds layers to the narrative. Lines that might seem mundane on the surface often carry double meanings, hinting at deeper moral dilemmas or foreshadowing pivotal plot twists. One particularly memorable exchange occurs between the assassin and an unwitting bystander who unknowingly becomes part of his plan. The tension is palpable, not because of overt threats but because of what is left unsaid, the space between words filled with silent dread. In analyzing the cinematography, one cannot ignore the director's masterful use of camera angles and movement to convey psychological states. Low-angle shots make the assassin appear larger than life in some moments, reinforcing his dominance and skill, while high-angle shots in other scenes emphasize vulnerability, isolation, and the moral weight of his actions. Tracking shots through narrow corridors or abandoned buildings create a sense of claustrophobia, mirroring the internal confinement experienced by characters who are trapped by circumstance or choice. Music and sound design also play pivotal roles. The score is subtle yet effective, often minimalistic, consisting of low, pulsating tones that mirror the heartbeat of tension. Ambient sounds, the patter of rain, distant sirens, the creak of doors, are amplified in critical moments to draw attention to the small details that heighten suspense. This approach reinforces the intimate terror of the narrative, reminding the audience that danger can arise from even the most mundane sources. What sets The Assassin apart from other entries in the anthology is its willingness to explore ethical ambiguity without providing easy answers. The protagonist's journey is as much about self-discovery as it is about external conflict. He is portrayed not as a villain, nor as a hero, but as a figure navigating a morally gray world. The final act, particularly, challenges the audience to question their own definitions of justice, revenge, and morality. The climax does not rely on extravagant action sequences but rather on the emotional resonance of choices made under duress. In comparing The Assassin to other tales from the CRYPT episodes, it is evident that the film leans more heavily into psychological tension than outright horror, reminiscent of noir thrillers rather than supernatural tales. The careful interplay between light and shadow, silence and sound, anticipation and hesitation creates a narrative rhythm that lingers long after the credits roll. One cannot help but draw parallels to classic crime cinema, where the line between protagonist and antagonist is deliberately blurred, and where the audience is complicit in moral judgment. Personally, watching The Assassin evoked a sense of nostalgia for the early days of suspense cinema, when tension was crafted through character development and atmosphere rather than reliance on visual spectacle. I found myself reflecting on the choices made by the protagonist and questioning what I might do in similar circumstances. It is this immersive moral questioning, coupled with the film's meticulous craftsmanship, that elevates it beyond mere horror anthology fare into a thoughtful meditation on human nature, ethics, and consequence. The minor characters also deserve attention, as each is carefully written to serve as both narrative catalysts and mirrors to the protagonist's inner struggle. Their interactions with the assassin, often brief and understated, serve to illuminate the broader themes of trust, betrayal, and the ripple effects of violence. In particular, one supporting character, a seemingly innocuous street vendor, becomes a moral touchstone, providing the assassin with an unspoken opportunity for redemption or further descent. This character's simplicity and groundedness contrast with the assassin's complexity, reinforcing the tension between ordinary morality and professional detachment. Beyond the technical and thematic elements, the assassin succeeds in creating moments of intimate horror, where the tension is derived not from supernatural forces, but from the very real human capacity for violence and manipulation. It is in these quiet moments, such as when the assassin contemplates a decision while looking at the rain-soaked streets, that the audience feels the weight of ethical responsibility. The film's denouement is particularly satisfying in its subtlety. Without resorting to overt exposition or moralizing, it leaves the viewer with a lingering question. What is the true cost of living by a code defined by death? This ambiguity is a hallmark of exceptional storytelling, inviting repeated viewings and ongoing reflection. In conclusion, The Assassin stands as a compelling example of how tales from the crypt can transcend traditional horror conventions. Through masterful cinematography, precise pacing, nuanced character development, and a willingness to explore moral gray areas, the episode crafts a tension-filled narrative that resonates on both an emotional and intellectual level. It challenges viewers to confront ethical dilemmas, consider the weight of choice, and recognize that in a world where shadows dominate, clarity is often elusive. The film lingers not just because of its suspense, but because it compels us to examine ourselves, our judgments, and our capacity for empathy in the face of violence. Its blend of visual storytelling, moral inquiry, and atmospheric tension makes it a standout in the anthology and a work that rewards careful attention, reflection, and, above all, engagement with the human condition.